And did you walk out at that moment?
A couple of days later, I did.
Those 2 days were not filled with appeals from your dad to his little baby to stay home with him? I empathize with your dad. Sorry, I'm choosing up sides here. Although I think he will not be upset with me. I think it's, you know, it might be just a little impractical trying to keep all daughters home until they're 30. Doesn't work in most places.
Yeah. Well, it was a number of things. So he was also my manager and my father at the same time, and I wasn't too pleased with his management. So what my father did, finally, he said, after a period of years, this has been going on for 5 years or so, after a period of years, he said, okay, this is what I'll do. I'll appoint a manager to you. And he gave me Mr. Gordon. He says, Jack Gordon will be your manager. He told him, she's not going to like this, but I'm going to appoint you her manager. And that's what he did.
Well, what we read is that your father and Jack Gordon are not necessarily blood brothers.
Oh, no, not anymore.
Oh, I see. So it was,
Not anymore.
The Playboy thing probably altered your father's vision of Jack Gordon, is that right?
No, it was prior to that. It was before that, actually. Yes.
Your father certainly doesn't mind you working alone, as you did in Atlantic City, huh?
No.
He likes that?
No, he likes that. It's fine.
He's proud of you for that?
Everything's fine. It's just that he regrets the fact that he did let me go. He wished that I were still with him. And that's basically probably why he doesn't get along with Mr. Gordon now.
Did your mother cry when you told her, Mom, this is it? I'm leaving.
I did it in a very, very different way. I had to leave for Japan. And I was over there for quite a while. And my parents, my mother and father flew over with me. And of course, Michael was there. And we left there and we went to China for a while. Then we went back to Japan. And we were there for a whole month, my mother, my father, and I. And I decided not to go back home. I decided to go to Germany to start recording. And from there I went to London. And my parents would always say, well, when are you coming home? Why can't you record at home in the studio here? Because we have a recording studio at home. And I said, well, I think it's better for me to do it here. And the Germans want me to do it here. And I think it's a bit easier this way. But my father couldn't understand, and he would always say, please come home and record here at home. And I kind of knew what it was about. But at the same time, I said, I can't do it. It wouldn't be right for me as an individual.
Do I understand that it takes 3 days to shoot? Who's got a Playboy, incidentally? Anybody? Well, I mean with you. 3 days to shoot this?
Yes.
3 days,
Does that seem like a long time?
Well, it does. I mean, you know, I guess I'm just naive enough to think you go in and sit down and they take the picture and then you go home. That's not the way it works. Huh? Okay, well, I've got one here. 12 pictures in 3 days. Wow. So it is hard work, is it?
It's hard work, but it's quite interesting because working with the Playboy staff, I must say that they were wonderful to work with. They were very accommodating, and they were probably the best group of people that I had ever worked with in my life. But it was interesting because they told me that normally it takes them 3 weeks to a month just to shoot a cover and a layout.
Really?
And they were very surprised with how quickly it was done.
We should not be surprised that you're on the cover. You actually... Now, let's see what I can show you here. Well, you should... The first, I don't know if I can show. It says... I'll do it like this. Don't tell Michael is the next. Wait a minute. I've got to come back here tomorrow. So we have to be real careful with our family show here. And yes, you are pictured with a snake. Yes, you've probably read that you are a reptophile, as they say. You grew up with them and apparently developed an early liking to them, huh?
Yes, very early liking to them.
Uh-huh. And you are the highest paid Playboy feature photo subject in the history of the magazine. You have no obligation to tell us how much that is. I know that's probably part of the contract anyway.
It is.
And you took over the Neil Simon Theater to do these pictures. Well, this is the big time, kiddo, I'll tell you. A whole Broadway theater.
Yes, we did.
And the only person present then would be, what, your women makeup people and costumes and so on, is that right?
Well, no, there was a staff of 6 or 7, actually, and I wouldn't allow anyone on the set but the photographer, and the poor guy did everything. And
lights
he worked the lights, and he worked everything.
Poor
and
guy,
course,
I know, it's tough.
The guy's now vacationing somewhere.
But I also had a lot of help from my makeup artist, Clint Reed, who's over there, who does a terrific job. And he was there making sure that everything was just right.
Yeah.
So he helped me a lot with
Right.
the poses and everything.
This is, as we say, frontal nudity, not backal nudity. Well, there's some backal nudity, too, I guess. You are topless in these pictures. And we can only wonder how it must have felt to disrobe even in this partial way for a young woman who has quite literally lived with her family for 30 years.
Yes.
I mean, you must have been scared to death.
I was terrified. I was really terrified to do it. As a matter of fact, I was nervous until the last day. And when the snake came, I felt more at home. And that's the only time I relaxed.
Well, this is obviously a very important career decision for you. You don't mind our making that point. This is this is not going to hurt at all. I assume that in whatever discussions you have regarding your career and who you are and where you're going, this was a very important and kind of gutsy thing for you to do.
It was very gutsy for me. I think it was very courageous because it was so unlike me. And initially, I didn't want to do it. I said no to them because I knew very little about Playboy. And after finding out more about the magazine, investigating it, and talking to
all those lovely women who had preceded you.
Yeah, and I said, well, gosh, I'd love to be in the company. And during the time I was approached, I happened to be in Spain, and of course, everyone in Spain walks around topless. And most of the people in Europe, oh yeah,
at the beaches. I don't think
everybody at the beach is totally topless, and you feel kind of weird with the bikini on, but I don't care. But it was quite different for me. But after thinking about all those things and thinking about the statues in Rome, I absolutely began to see nothing wrong with nudity in that sense, especially exposing the breasts.
Well, you have especially done that. Well, where are you in the birth order, may I ask? There are 9 children.
There are 9 children. I'm 6th.
You're 6th?
Yeah.
That's a nice place to be, you know. Most of the heat was taken by the older siblings, and wrong? I mean,
well, when you're in the middle, it makes it kind of easier, I guess.
I think so. Your parents have already learned how to be a parent by the time you come along.
I should hope so, yes.
And your parents have never pinched the nickel in the sense that the wealth that came to the Jackson family, you were never, you enjoyed the good life, I assume. You were surrounded in luxury for most of the later years of your life. Do I have that right?
Yes, for most of my life.
And you never, I assume your parents never said, you can't have that dress, or did they? Or how did this work? Did you get an allowance?
No, we never got allowances. I think whatever we needed or wanted, it was just provided for us. But I don't want you to get the wrong understanding that we were spoiled, because that we were not.
Did you have to do dishes? No.
No, we had someone do that for us.
Did you have to make your bed?
No.
Have you ever cooked anything?
Oh, I can cook. I can cook. Yes, I can cook.
Are you a little bewildered out here now by yourself in the apartment? Do you ever say, do you miss the noise?
I miss my family very badly, actually, because, when you're from a big household, there's always something going on. There's always a lot of activity and everybody running in and out all day long, and it's exciting. But when you're here, it's very quiet, and it's a different lifestyle. But I think just living in New York alone makes up for that, because it's shown me an entirely different lifestyle that I never really truly knew about. Because when you're born in a very sheltered family behind gates, you don't know what's really out there in the real world. And when I made my move to New York, I learned a whole lot in a short period of time, what life was truly about in people. And I like that, and I enjoy that.
We honk our horns more often here. You probably noticed that. We're very good at hailing a cab here.
Yes.
You have not chatted with your dad since the pictorial in Playboy, is that so?
No, I haven't.
Have you chatted with your mom?
No.
Have you tried to?
No, I've spoken to my brothers and sisters, and they tell me what they think. My siblings basically tell me what they think, so I think it's probably best that I wait a while.
But you think you'll make the call first, huh? You'll call them.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
And you have no doubt they'll take the call.
Oh, they will.
So it's not like
But you know what's so
you're not going to be
interesting?
disowned, is my point.
No, I don't think I'll be disowned, no. But what's interesting about my parents, knowing them, they'll never mention it to me. They will never mention it to me. I speak to Jermaine, he won't bring it up. He has never brought up Playboy to me. They really... When I spoke to Michael the other day, well, before it came out, of course, he had seen the pictures prior to them coming out. And we were on the phone for 4 hours, and he didn't say one word about Playboy. And I knew he had seen them because someone from Hev's house said they were having a major meeting about me, and in walks Michael, and they had to grab all the pictures and just get rid of them. And Michael claimed he had come there to see the animals, of course. Why he was there, they don't know, but he said he had come there to see the animals. And I knew that he wanted to see the pictures. So I spoke to him for 4 hours, and finally I said, I heard you were at Hef's. He said, oh, yeah, I was. I wanted to see the animals again. Well, Michael, you always see the animals. He goes, but I want to see them again. So it went on and went on. I said, Michael, you know I did Playboy. He goes, yeah, I know. And I said, well, why didn't you mention it to me? And he goes, well, I didn't want to embarrass you. I figured you would mention it first. And so they will never mention it to me.
Well, was there any review at all? Did he say anything?
Yeah, he said, I saw the pictures, and I think they're very lovely. He says, I think they're beautiful. And I said, thank you very much. And of course, the magazine wasn't out at the time, so actually what he saw was actually copies. And he asked me to Federal Express the real thing. He says, I know you have the real thing. Federal Express it to me.
It'd be a little tough for him to go to 7-Eleven, wouldn't it, to pick one up?
We are in New York City with Toya Jackson, and we'll be back.